Oh, the one on the big head on the shelf?
Yeah, the big head.
This is, people say after I won an Oscar, they said, you got a big head. And I was they're absolutely right.
Love it.
You have a big head.
There it is.
I keep it on the shelf.
Welcome back to the TowerCast podcast, the towering podcast for the towering filmmakers of El Paso and the world. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. If you're listening in on any major podcasting platform like Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, or you might be tuning in visually on our YouTube and Facebook pages, wherever you're tuning in from, thank you so much for joining us today. We have a very, very, very exciting guest. Before I introduce our special guest today, I want to introduce my fellow co-host, Mr. John Eric Castro.
How you guys doing?
We have Mr. Michael Delao.
Hello, everyone.
And I, your humble servant, Carlos de la Torre. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. We have a very exciting episode. We've gone into the makeup and special effects world quite a bit with a couple of guests prior to today's, but I feel like this perspective from our special guest today is just going to be mind-blowing for our listeners and for us as filmmakers, giving us a lot of perspective. This individual, this amazing human being has done films. You've seen one of his films at least in your entire life. You have seen multiple films of his work. He's done films like Tropic Thunder, Tenacious D, Dawn of the Dead, The Ring, Planet of the Apes, Ron Howard's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Zombieland films. Very notably, he's done the Star Trek films, the newer ones. And most recently, he did the Borat subsequent movie film, which is nominated for a couple Academy Awards this time around for Oscar season. So, which is tomorrow at the time of this recording. We have Academy Award winning individual Barney Burman. He does it all. He's awesome. Thank you for being here, Barney.
Oh, you mean me?
Yeah.
I thought I was getting excited. I thought there was a really cool guest coming. When you look it up, I thought, wow, who's going to be here?
You are the man of the hour.
You're the show today. That's you. Yeah.
No. Well, not to be picky, but technically it's Burman as opposed to Burman.
Okay. Burman.
Let's throw that out there.
Awesome. No.
That's it. I click.
Thank you for correcting me there.
Last time.
Right.
So how you doing? How's it been going on your neck of the woods?
Good.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a solid question. You seem like a very busy person.
I felt that tone. I felt.
I gotta say, I don't look. The last year has been a really shitty, miserable year.
Oh yeah.
For so many people, and I don't mean to in any way discredit or invalidate anybody's feelings about it, no matter who you are, where you're at, what your social, economic background is, or your status, anything. Everybody's had a hard time, one way or another, emotionally, and everybody is absolutely 100% valid in these feelings. But I gotta say, I've had some perks over the past year. Or so, and especially lately, even with work, like the COVID thing has created some perks.
I was going to ask that because
how so?
You're a makeup artist. You're always touching them. How does that?
Well, I haven't had to work that much over the past year, which is great because I've had a lot of time on my hands to do the things I want to do. I spend a lot of time by myself anyway. I write a lot. I've been learning, but getting back into ceramics, which I hadn't done since July, and doing some personal creative work, and without having the pressure of I have to get out there, I have to work, I have to get a job, I have to pay the rent, I have to do all the things.
Sure. And you're in the greater California area, if I'm not mistaken, so it's even a little bit worse for you guys, right? Out there right now.
California has not boded well. Anyway, we've been lax in our duties as far as social distancing and mask wearing and washing of hands, and a lot of people have gotten very sick. and it's a fucking drag. Can I say fucking?
No, we agree.
Yeah,
say
you're
drag.
allowed.
You're
Say it as many times as you
You're
want.
in El Paso for a long time. We were the city that was doing the
We're
work
the hotspot, yeah.
Yeah.
for a long time. So we feel you. We definitely feel you. However, you know what? We're glad to hear that you're doing well, and we're glad to hear that this has provided some perks for you. And I think it's what we love about this podcast is we get to think about a better time as we go back in the history of kind of our guests' filmography. So why don't we start there? Can you tell us about like your journey as a storyteller? Where did this all begin for you?
If I'm not mistaken, you fell in love with character acting. You're still in love with it?
Yeah, no, I do. I love it. When I was a kid, when I was really young, I wanted to be a stuntman. And then I realized
Nice.
they get hurt and they don't spend that much time on film. And
Okay, right.
well, then I wanted to be an actor. And the funny thing is, ironically, I started taking an acting and dance class. And around that time that I just started, I had a bicycle accident and broke my ankle.
Oh,
wow.
Oh, man.
So I was still doing the stunts.
True stuntman. True stunt.
But I wanted to, and even before that, I used to make like little short films with my brother and our friends and stuff in our yard, and
Right,
you know, I would be like Kid Tarzan or some kind of kid caveman or something.
Because
And,
your parents, you come from this lineage of amazing individuals who work in film and under that makeup special effects department. So you must have grown up around all this stuff, right? And it's exciting to grow up around the films.
My dad's dad used to make special props and guns and knives and fish and swords and things and also make prosthetics for like Jack Pierce made the original Wolfman prosthetics.
Yeah, I was reading about that.
Made masks for the Twilight Zone. So we always had kind of a weird playground, kind of a weird
Oh, man.
collection of toys. So we would like put on masks like from My Linda Dr. Moreau and go run around the neighborhood and peek in people's windows. And they always had the same reaction. Oh, it's the Burman boys. Come on in. Let me see what you got.
And you were like,
That's
no,
was
scary.
Halloween just another day at that point?
Oh, Halloween must
No,
have
it was a
been.
big deal. We put on haunted houses and then like tours through our backyard with like props from cat people and
God, that's awesome.
That is-
Stan Winston and his family would come over and they'd bring stuff and we'd have all these
Awesome.
things from
Sweet.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers and I'd lay there in a pod and wiggle around on the
God.
So
porch.
cool.
So we had some good times with that. People would line up around the block to come into our house.
Wow.
So it was already like normalized, like just seeing all the props and everything like that. And you didn't think you
Yeah,
were going to get
I
into that
had-
at first, or
Sorry?
you didn't think you were going to get into that because you said you wanted to go into acting somewhere down the line, but
Yeah, no, I had no interest in doing makeup, although I did have like a little Hugo doll, a man of a thousand faces, and I used to sculpt faces on my G.I. Joes and stuff. So I kind of
That's
was
cool.
doing it, even though I didn't have much interest in doing it. I wanted
yeah.
to.
It just wasn't the creature features necessarily that were getting your attention at that point, or it was anything in the art and makeup department, would you say?
Yeah, I loved monster movies and creature movies, but I like the hokey ones were the ones that really got me, like the War of the Gargantuas,
Oh, okay, yeah.
things like that were Godzilla movies. I loved it. So I love the idea, and I loved everything that Lon Chaney Sr. had done. I wanted to be Lon Chaney Sr. Basically, I just didn't know how to actually have Lon Chaney Jr. as my son. It was the very real stumbling block.
Right.
Yeah. So how was it that you kind of came to be then? How did it kind of first kick off for you? What piqued your interest?
Well, I needed a job. Oddly, when I was in junior high, I was just like 9th grade, I met a guy named John Logan, and he wanted to work in the shops. He wanted to be in makeup effects, and he became my friend. And so because he wanted to do it, I wanted to do it also.
Oh.
And so we would go after school, we'd go to my dad's shop and we would help him out and work there. So then I needed a job as I got older and a teenager, and my mom kicked me out. I needed a job, so I worked for my dad.
Can we ask why? Your teenager stuff, or?
Yeah. Why did I get kicked out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a
rebel phase.
No, I was not. She's going through hurdles and stuff. My parents were getting a divorce, and I was not great. I was not a good supportive son. So she kicked me out, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to be here anyway. So the funny thing is I left. I stopped living with her and went to work with my dad, where we're still working together.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was a weird family dynamic there.
I'm
A lot of screwy stuff. I mentioned, though, I don't normally think about it in these terms, but I mentioned John Logan being somebody who kind of brought me in because he wanted to do it. Somewhat to honor, we fell out. We weren't friends for many years, but he actually took his own life last week.
Oh, really?
So sorry.
It made me think a lot about, my time with him when we were kids. We were like best friends.
Yeah.
And he was, for a time, a really good friend and really affected me and changed my life. And so I'm going to honor him with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely. And that inspiration was definitely inspired by him and motivated by him to a certain degree. So absolutely. Well, we're sorry to hear that.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, he had a very hard time as an adult navigating his way through life. And I guess he decided he'd had enough.
Well, condolences on our end.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Not to drag the whole thing down.
No.
I mean,
we want to hear the story.
That's part of your story. So that's definitely part of your story.
Because I think we all can relate to that as far as having somebody who we never thought would kind of push us in the direction we're in, in whatever way. So having somebody like that, it's hard enough to think about losing them, but it's also nice to know what they meant in your life,
Yeah, and the level that you're able to kind of honor him and what he did for you, to kick off that first domino, so to speak, right? You have a grand stage to do so. So that's actually a fantastic opportunity to be able to honor him in one of your films, or just by doing the act, maybe. So that's really awesome at the very least. So you needed a job.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I for whatever reason, I had a very hard time through my 20s working in this business. I worked on a lot of stuff for my dad and for my brother and a few other people like Ed French and Steve Laporte. But a lot of people would not hire me. And so I had a very hard time, struggling. Also, trying to be an actor and not really taking it all seriously. Then my dad got me a job, and he sent me to go do a film called Powder.
Yes.
And I got on set, and I liked being on set. Before that, I'd done a lot of set work, but not mostly shop work, but not some set.
Right.
But then on Powder, it was like I was on the show throughout the whole run, and it got me in the union, and I really thought, wow, this is a whole game changer. Yeah. This really feels good to me.
Right.
So I kind of shifted more or less my focus around that time because, makeup kept coming to me more easily, and it still was rewarding in not just financial, but in emotional ways.
Mm-hmm. So it seems like a very rewarding as far as artistic expression. I think that's what we all kind of find in our own art forms, that like with me with the camera and Castro with acting, Carlos with directing, it's finding that way to express ourselves in what we do and hopefully get paid for that. And I feel like in makeup you would have the most kind of like play or freedom to kind of like make what you want to do with the characters or like make the scenes.
And yeah, I would also argue, and correct me if I'm wrong here, that comparing acting to makeup, you get to be a little more expressive in your own way, where you're still collaborating with a director, you're still collaborating with even an actor, but you get to kind of create your own flair into that. Whereas acting, you're very much limited to maybe the role, or very much limited to what the director specifically wants you to do. So I think it's even more expressive, right?
Well, I think you're still working. You're not working in a vacuum. It's still a very collaborative thing. You got to make sure the director is getting what he wants. Absolutely, we're all there to serve the production,
sure,
the director included. They're just guiding it and the best they know how.
Absolutely.
And so we're each actors and makeup and wardrobe and hair and lighting guys, and we're all there to serve this project
Right.
and try to make it the best it can be by giving our best. But it doesn't happen with just one person's, out of one person's expression.
Sure.
So it is always, even it's sometimes more challenging than others, but it's always somewhat collaborative, and you have to make sure you can give that project the best that it can be.
Did you learn the team dynamic, especially in makeups early on, is more beneficial than having kind of just to work on something, maybe a TV movie or something smaller that might just be, you'll have to do it with yourself, or just have a team under you. But is it better to collaborate with a team, you feel, and you kind of had to learn those team dynamics? Or
so I think it's always better to have at least a partner in what you're doing, that you work well off of, that you sort of feed each other. Otherwise, to me anyway, it can be a very lonely job.
Right.
And I don't like it when it's a lonely job.
Yeah. And it seems like your career, at least, and we'll get into some of the key examples right now, but it seems like throughout your career, you've become a chameleon in your field. Whereas a lot of people, whether they're art designers or maybe special effects and makeup, sometimes they have a team that they work with, or just another individual, like you say, to bounce off of, and that's who they work with for the whole career. But it seems like you worked with different individuals all around. You kind of like to, I don't know if that was on purpose or not, or if that was a choice you made, but it seems like you didn't want to stick to one thing or one even genre or anything like that. You just wanted to learn and work with different individuals.
No, I used to define myself as having creative ADD. One therapist just said, no, it's really just ADD. So, you don't have to make it qualify it with anything. It's you just have a tension thing. So because of that, though, I do like to do different things. I get really bored just doing one thing. Maybe when I got Dawn of the Dead, I got called to go do that in Toronto for 2 months, and I thought, I really want to go make zombies for 2 months. But it turned out to be great. It was so much fun.
Well, this is one question I've been wanting to ask. You worked on How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
I did.
How was it to work with Jim Carrey?
If you can't already see, Barney, Castro's back wall there, that's his favorite actor of all time. That's one of his heroes.
Just the acting, his ability, and
I'm sure, yeah.
I was thinking a lot of Jim back there. I didn't work directly with Jim on that. I did, but that's another example of something I did, like 3 months of one guy's makeup, a guy named David Costabile, who was on Billions. He was in Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah.
Terrific actor. Very funny guy. We got along great. But that was something, like 3 months, I did this one guy's makeup. And I just, every day I thought, can I make it better? Can I make it better? And that's kind of what kept me going. But I didn't have any real interaction with Jim there, although I've worked with him a little bit on a couple of other things, including recently his show, Kidding.
Oh, yes.
My good friend Tony Gardner brought me in to help him do this shaved head gag where Jim shaves his head, the streak on his head.
Oh, yeah.
So we had put this bald cap on him that was hair punched.
Wow.
Every hair put in individually. And
I've wondered how they do that, because I remember seeing that scene and thinking, did they just actually go through and have him?
And thinking Jim Carrey would have done it, but did he have probably another role that he couldn't shave his head or something? Or
well, it was that role. I mean, they had to see him with and without the shaved streak.
Right.
Had to. Plus, I guess he probably didn't really feel like shaving a streak down his head.
Yeah, of course.
You can get away with doing it artificially.
Exactly. He's at that level.
And that role was definitely something different, for sure. Absolutely something different, and tonally, not from what we're used to seeing him in. So it was fantastic to see him.
Also, I wanted to ask too, you were working on the How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I'm sure it was a pretty heavy makeup stuff, right?
Yeah.
What's the big do you have challenges with actors sweating sometimes when it gets hot?
Yeah. It can be a real problem.
Yeah, because I have to ask that, because that happens sometimes when it's 80 degrees or 90 degrees, and how do you prepare for that? Or
Or is that just
Just
always
be on
in the back of
standby?
the head trying to like?
You just learn ways to combat it. You learn how to deal with someone sweating. Like if someone's got a prosthetic on and they're sweating, it doesn't just fall off.
No, yeah.
It brings a leak, and then you just kind of like deal with that leak and how to keep it.
Do you have any like tricks of like, ice packs, certain stuff?
There are certain products you can use. One called Sweat Stop, and it's basically the ingredient they have in deodorants or in deodorants. And you can put that on first. I don't like to use it though.
See, that's what I wanted to ask from a professional.
So is it better to shoot on a cooled sound stage versus on location and hot sun?
Yeah, keep your actors cool and calm between takes. I would say do what you want in front of the camera, but between takes, sit down and shut up and don't do it.
No, of course. Now, what are the comparisons to, for instance, just kind of getting to some of the early movies? So, we get into the Grinch, the Grinch versus something like Dawn of the Dead, where you're working with Ron Howard, who, at least as a director, we know him to be very tame, very kind of hold his composure, and then you go and turn around and work with Zack Snyder, and obviously early Zack Snyder, right? But what are some of those, personalities that you have to deal with on a collaborative front?
I had very little dealings with Ron. He was directing this monster of a film, this gigantic thing. By comparison, Dawn of the Dead was this much smaller film, and I thought Zack was fantastic. He had a great energy. He's very personable, and knows what he wants, and he's very clear, and he just keeps the ball rolling without any sense of ego.
That's big, yeah.
Not that I got any ego from Ron, but he was over there in his own world, and I had this one guy to take care of.
Sure.
As long as he was clean, he looked good in front of camera.
Gotcha.
Everything else was just happening around me.
The bigger picture, right? Now, did you, for instance, for Dawn of the Dead, I'm very curious as to, first of all, we have James Gunn just writing the script before he was James Gunn.
Yeah, right.
And obviously George Romero came in and did some script work as well and based it off his. But did you visit the original George Romero work as to inspire your work in the makeup department?
No.
Or not really? Did you take the original?
I was never a fan of zombies to begin with. It's not like zombies.
Really?
I think they're.
Are they played? Is it just too common now?
Be a straight shooter.
Even before it was common. I always thought it was like a cheap, kind of lame excuse for a bad guy. It's just like
we're with you.
Interesting, yeah.
Especially at that time, they hadn't really been developed to the degree they have been now.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So they were just a force of humans coming to eat you. And I just thought, it was not interesting to me at all.
So with Dawn of the Dead,
to do a dead, rotty flesh makeup, with whatever that guy's doing, that actually is what interested me. Try to make it better.
That's what I'm curious about. Fast forward 10 odd years, right? And then you do the Zombieland film. So what's the difference at that point? Do you feel like it's evolved to a point where it's more, interesting to get into, or?
Well, Zombieland, I was working for, I mentioned my friend Tony Gardner. It was his job, and he brought me on, and it's just a good, fun group of guys to hang around with and make gory faces. It's, it's not rocket science, but you also want them to look good, within a certain design and certain style that's been established.
Is there a long period of kind of like planning out for any of your jobs, planning out a look, or do you kind of go on and it's like, well, let me see what I'm feeling today?
Well, with like Dawn of the Dead, which was Dave Anderson's job, he brought me on to department head with Tony G. And before that, he brought me in to help do design work, and so we did a number of makeup tests to work out what the basic sort of rough formula is for making these zombies.
Right.
And that was fun. So I brought in a certain technique that I had recently been playing with, and that's what we went with, about sort of like latex and gelatin and latex, and making it kind of weird and ripply, and it was a new look at the time.
Because even like that, they all have their own aesthetic. It's not just like the zombie from one film looks the same as another film. Like, they all kind of have their uniqueness.
And that's kind of fun. Figure out, okay, what can I do here that's different and unique, and everybody wants to make something that sort of shines, it sticks in people's
Have you found that throughout the trajectory of your career? We spoke to Shane Herbert not too long ago, and he described how, with cinematography, it's one of those things where when you can start out with these massive, great looking films, and then you kind of start doing the subtle work because that interests you more, and then he turns around and does something like The Babysitter just because it's fun. Have you found that throughout the trajectory of your career, you start, because I have, we've worked with a lot of makeup artists for our films, and it seems like at the beginning of their career, they're very attracted to the zombie work, the werewolf work, the horror, the slasher films. And then it's almost like when you do makeup for a film that's more subtle, you have a little more fun with making somebody look natural or, etc. Is that how you found it to be? Like now you still have some fun when you get the slasher film, but when you get to do just something that's normal and kind of maybe feature the features of the actor a little better, their natural looks. Does that still interest you? Or how has that been for you, would you say?
Well, it goes back to my creative ADD. I like to do different things. I really love doing like powder and just making this guy believably white.
Right.
Which he wasn't actually white. It was just the color was very subtle. But and I also liked doing zombies on Dawn of the Dead. I liked doing ideally my favorite thing is just turning somebody into somebody else, making it believable, and even if it's just giving somebody a beard. I recently did a bald cap on somebody, and
those are tough. Those are hit or miss sometimes.
Actually, the two jobs come up, the bald cap jobs, in a very short period of time, and different kinds of bald caps, and the idea was just, how do I make this guy believably bald?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So no one's going to look at it and think, oh, that's a good bald cap. I want them to look at it and never cross their mind.
Right, yeah, that's
that
the
he's
goal.
Wearing one.
Not like, what's that, the El Camino, we saw.
I was going to ask you, did you
Bryan
see that
Cranston,
one? The spin-off for the Breaking Bad? Did you ever catch that movie?
Which one?
It's called El Camino. It's the Breaking Bad movie.
Kind of spin-off.
Oh, I started watching it and I didn't give it to.
Good for you. Good for you. It wasn't worth it.
No, but there's a
bald cap. The purpose of it. I why? I watched the whole series of Breaking Bad, and when this came up, I was just like, I don't know what's happening or why, and they were doing it just because they could, and it's.
I'm with you. Which like a lost episode that we really didn't need.
Well, and as a makeup artist, you might have had seen that, and Bryan Cranston's bald cap was very, very obvious.
You could tell.
And
was it?
Yeah, so it's good that you.
They should have called me. I got to do. I did a Twilight. What was the show he was on? It was a. Sculder and Mully. Sculder and Mully. Mully and Sculder. Sculder.
Oh, X-Files, yeah.
I did an X-Files with Brian.
Nice.
He had to drive really fast, or his brain was going to explode. I had to do his makeup every day. He's such a sweet guy. I really like him.
No, he seems like an amazing individual. Hopefully, we get him on the podcast at some point. But so, how do you turn around and do something like? Is it different to turn somebody into an ape? Like Planet of the Apes, I mean, you're dealing with hair, you're dealing with, fur.
It is different. I mean, there's a lot of very much the same basic techniques, but then you get into different designs, and different. Like the puzzle has to go together a little differently.
Right.
You're still putting the puzzle together. Technically, it's the same thing. Artistically, you have to make sure this actually fits here, that fits there. Different kinds of material. Putting hair on something, which I love doing, is its own challenge.
Yeah.
So it's like every job, and sometimes almost every application, just becomes a little different.
Okay.
It's hard for me to do the exact same makeup twice because I want to say, okay, well, what if I do this time? What if I do that time?
Yeah, unless you were
doing. As long as continuity is basically the same, you're not going to see the difference from one day to the other. And also, even continuities for sissies. I mean, come on. Look, if you took a shot of me in this position today, and then I trimmed my beard up, and I came back, and you had the exact same shot of me in this exact same position, exact same lighting, with a trimmer beard, most people will never notice it.
Oh, I was gonna say, okay.
But if you cut if you cut me this angle to me that angle, I could even lose the beard. You probably wouldn't notice. One of my favorite examples is Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Wow. Okay.
This is my example of continuity. Raiders of the Lost Ark. You've got Marion Ravenwood. She is sitting at a table. She reaches under her blouse and she pulls out a medallion that's on a chain around her neck.
Yeah.
Cut to another angle. No time has passed. The chain is no longer around her neck, and she hangs it on like a thing in the center of the table.
Yeah.
Nobody ever catches it.
Yeah.
I say if it's telling the story,
Yeah.
you've got it going. If something drastically is shockingly different and it interrupts the story, that's when it's a problem.
Oh, and that's coming from a makeup artist. That's interesting.
When continuity is very big on certain people on
Exactly.
set, specifically,
Don't get me wrong.
The makeup artists.
When making films, you be careful. Let's try to get things accurate and the same. But
right.
then in the end, how does the story flow?
Sure.
It's more important.
Certain things are not going to matter as much as people think they should.
That's true.
I have to ask now, how has that doing something practical that you can have fun with, and nowadays where a lot of these techniques are being used in digital, in the digital format through CG, how's the makeup community feeling about that? Do you all feel like it's the same, or do you all feel like you have to almost compete with digital effects now, or is it emphasizing your work maybe? How's that
blending?
Listen, for a while, it was the 90s and early aughts, I'd say digital effects seemed really, because it was the new toy.
Right.
People went to it way too often. I had this guy one time, a producer. We were in a meeting and they were talking about doing a cancer patient, and said, okay, the cancer patients, we're sitting there, and so if we want to have them, typical cancer patient with the hair falling out, we'll have to do the CG removal of the hair. And I was like, what? I said, you don't want to use a bald cap? And he goes, yeah, bald caps don't work. And I was like, what are you talking about? Bald caps have worked. This guy had a very bad experience with somebody who had a very bad bald cap before.
You just need one bad experience.
Bald caps are not good.
Yeah.
This was back then though, when the digital effects weren't even...
This is actually just about 5 years ago.
Okay.
Point being, some people run to digital stuff a little too quickly for my taste. Although, kind of doesn't matter. There's far, far more content being made right now than there ever has, and everybody I know is working. So even and there's more makeup effects shops, I think, than there've ever been before.
Yeah.
So there's a demand for the Marvel films have, they do a lot of digital stuff, but they do a hell of a lot of practical.
Oh yeah.
Well, I gotta ask you, I gotta get your take on The Irishman. I have to. I just have to.
It's funny. I watched it, and I kind of started watching it like 2 days ago because I wanted to look at it just directorially and for Scorsese's use of camera work and editing and
right.
And I thought, I just can't get past the awkwardness of the obvious aged humans.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't care how much younger their faces look.
There's still
their physicality, even the way they're holding their faces, everything is just like, this just feels really weirdly unnatural to me.
Yeah, unnecessary. I know they're his actors.
I think get younger actors and make them older. You don't have to.
It's because Carlos is a big Scorsese fan. That's why we get into it.
I love Scorsese. I love Scorsese's work, and that doesn't mean this was approached the best way it could have been.
I mean, it's a new technology. It's a new technology. It was
proof of
IBM
concept.
It was IBM coming to Scorsese and saying, "Hey, listen, we did it. We can do it now." And Scorsese saying, "I want to jump into another medium. Let's play with it. Why not?" So I think it's just Scorsese.
I can tell you why not. because the movie suffers because of it.
Yeah, you can't get past it.
If they really want to do that and go that way, the technology isn't there yet enough to make it not distracting.
Yeah,
and really that's why me out of the film.
And that's
why it was a little off course, but I just want to get your take on it.
That's why I ask you if it's versus something that's tangible as a makeup artist to something that's digital. That both are working really well, especially in today's medium. I think for makeup, though, I want to selfishly ask about one of your projects because when it comes to world building, makeup is an especially important department. Makeup and special effects, and I'm a massive Haunted Mansion fan. And I know you got to work on the Haunted Mansion. I'm big on the ride and the history of the ride and the
huge
the film and the remake that Del Toro was supposed to make for so many odd years that never happened. But what was your experience on that, on the Haunted Mansion and the world building that had to happen with all these characters and makeup and whatnot?
So how old were you when you saw the Haunted Mansion?
I must have been 10 maybe.
At least 18, right?
Maybe
it was a while back. It was 2005 maybe.
And you really liked it.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I think that set up that world for me, and Disney's kind of take on the supernatural and stuff like that. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. And nice. For nostalgia's sake, today I enjoy it, obviously, because I'm a fan.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I was not the audience it was made for, and I was like, it wasn't what especially after Pirates of the Caribbean,
right?
Thought Haunted Mansion would be a little more serious in a way, a little bit more haunting, and it went very light, and I was like, I was taken back by it.
Yeah.
But I'd say working on it was freaking fun. Had a really great time. I mean, every time I worked for Rick Baker, Haunted Mansion, the Ring movies, Planet of the Apes, the Grinch, at least 6 or 7 projects. Mission Impossible, Men in Black 2.
Men in Black 2, yeah.
He brings such beautiful puzzles to put together.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
And he trusts his people to do it.
Right.
And it was always I don't know if it's a challenge, it's just a pleasure.
Right.
Each time I learned something new and worked on something new with him, it was a learning experience. I literally learned something new every single time I worked with him. We're always very proud of the work.
We've seen, at least from what we're hearing, there's so many different projects that I think we're all just really fascinated with because everything to us seems, I mean, it really brings that magic out, seeing your work on the screen and feeling that thing being real. You talk about challenges. What was probably one of the most challenging or something you learned the most from as far as all the different makeups you've done?
What's one that stands out for you as far as sets go?
As far as sets?
Well, yeah, like the film experience, the whole...
Oh, no, Grimm, working on Grimm for 6 years had its challenges. I actually saw a thing came up as a Facebook memory the other day, this character called Vulcan Alice, and they had this scripted character that was a volcano man. I'm like, well, CG is going to have their fun with that. At the meeting, they all turned to me and said, "Can you do it?" And I was like, So I had to make
a volcano
this small head-to-toe man that would glow from the inside. Wow. And we did it in 12 days. Whoa. And it was...
Wow.
I'm really very, very proud of it, but super, super challenging.
Is it one of those things that the more you add on to a person, then I guess the more complicated it is for them to like move, or is that always something you're trying to work around? Like,
in this case, it's like, how do you make somebody glow from under the skin?
I mean, just open them up, stick some lights in them, and plug it in.
There you go.
There you go.
Very good, Mr. Trump. So we figured out a way to make a light suit of L-wire lights swirling around that he wore, and then a transparent silicone suit that went on over the top of that. And even the prosthetics that he wore had this L-wire underneath it.
Wow.
And we put little LED lights inside these teeth that he wore, so his mouth would glow.
It sounds like you, just based off what you've been saying, that prosthetics seems to be one of the funnest things for you. Is that like your favorite use for bigger projects, or what's your go-to, or what's your favorite thing to kind of, what do you have the most fun with in makeup?
Well, with makeup, just challenging, just running the gamut from taking something and doing a life cast of somebody and then sculpting that thing on them, and then taking it all the way to that finished look. And there's some point when it's on the person and you are coloring it or doing whatever, and all of a sudden there's a moment where it has life.
Right.
And it feels like, okay.
There you are. Yeah, man.
Sometimes just getting it to be the right color and mixing it be a struggle, and then you hit that one right color, and all of a sudden it works. And that's a wonderful moment.
I think that's every creative, right? Every creative, because I know you also write and direct, Barney, and you do a ton of stuff. But I mean, I know that as a writer, when I'm finishing that first draft or maybe the final draft, that feeling of it's there, it's taking shape. Or I'm seeing a cut of a film, and we get to that final cut, and it's like it's finally here. I think every creative goes through that moment, that light bulb moment.
Yeah, I did the same thing with I did a movie that came out last November. It was on Amazon. It's called Wild Boar. And I had the same thing where it's like, and it's segments, because you get a certain part of it, you go, yes, that works. Okay, now we're talking. And then there's something else that's just not right at all. Oh, yeah. And you gotta go, okay, let's dive into this.
Back to the drawing board, right? Back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it really does show. It does show that you get these moments and they work through your work. I have to ask about, did you directly work on Dave Grohl's makeup for Tenacious D? Was that your doing?
Yes. Well, we did that makeup on a guy named Derek Mears, who was the Swamp Thing recently. He's done a lot of work.
Right.
And he's a terrific guy, terrific actor, a lot of creature suit work. And then, because they wanted to have Dave Grohl as the devil, and Dave Grohl wasn't available, so they did this whole ending with Derek Mears. A year later, they came to me and said, we need to reshoot the ending. We're going to change some stuff, and we want to redo the devil because Dave Grohl's now available.
Oh, man.
We got to do that whole thing all over. The makeup changed, and it became a little smaller, a little tighter, a little more like a loud. Before it was kind of a bigger creature thing, and then it became more of a tighter, cleaner makeup. So I was really happy to have gotten to redo that. And Dave, I just worked with him recently on his film he's directed.
Wow, nice.
And he's super, super nice and really easy to work with. And yeah, turn him into a devil anytime.
Right.
We're talking about those. I always like to ask, if you could tell, what's the biggest hiccup, like the biggest, we gotta change this, that you've had? Like you wake up and you're like, I got 2 hours to fix this, or something like that.
I don't know. What pops into my head, the weirdest things. I did
I know it's on the spot.
I'm talking about just something that's fun, just a fun. Talking about what sometimes do things that are more technical and involved, and sometimes fun. I did a TV series for the thing is Adult Swim, and it's called Tropical Cocktails.
Tropical Cocktails.
Cocktails.
Tropical Cocktails. And I was in Atlanta, and we had all these really weird, wacky things to do. Everything from people's heads blowing up to these stupid, obvious plant stick in like gold vampire thing. And I was looking at the schedule and I was listening to what they were doing, and all of a sudden, okay, up next we're gonna do the gold gloves. They were supposed to be like these cat gloves that were like metallic, robot, spiky, fingernails.
That's awesome.
Right. Sounds awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, next. What do you mean next? We had not even started it.
No.
Oh man.
Not even. Like I had this concept of what to do and had not actually begun. So me and like 3 or 4 other people in the makeup and wardrobe and department, we all like, here, put this on. So I'm sticking these like long gloves that they have just on a shelf and sticking those on, and we're gluing things to it. And I go to the director and producer, writer directors.
You got to show them.
And I'm like, don't be mad.
The first thing you want to hear from any crew.
I was like, this is all I've got. And they freaking lost it. They laughed so hard. They're like, that's perfect.
Oh, it worked. All right.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
I love those stories.
Are you at a point with the gambit of stuff you've done? Are you at a point where you're still seeing other people's work and you're like, I still don't know how they did that, or I wish I had kind of come up with
Sometimes. Sometimes I look at something. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen Pinocchio.
The one that's up for the Oscar this year.
Yeah. Mark Coulier is one of just like, he just floors me. His work is so beautiful. He actually did all the build for the Trump makeup that I got to put on Sacha Baron Cohen.
Oh yeah.
For Borat.
Right.
And he just does remarkable work. I really love what he does, and I look at I haven't seen the movie, but I look at the photos, the work he did for Pinocchio, and I'm just blown away by it.
Oh.
Is there I have to ask, is there a specific story or something you want, for instance, just as an example, I don't know, that you want to do, as a goal, I would say, I want to work with Guillermo del Toro one day, for instance, or is there something still a kind of a passion you're looking to do, or a specific story or character you might want to do?
I want to work for Guillermo del Toro, sure, but I want him to produce something I direct.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to take on makeup tasks and design things and create new faces and monsters and dead people or what have you, if it inspires me, if it's something. I try to always do my very best, whatever the job is.
Right.
But I had so much fun directing my own film that I could really just do that. So
you do want to start transitioning a little more streamlined into the directing field, you think? Or
I'd say the transition has been started a long time ago.
Feeling the vibe already, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sort of walking the line between the two right now.
That's awesome. I think seeing some of your shorts that we've been able to see before jumping on with you is
yeah,
that's amazing. It'd be great if you did, if you focused a little more on directing. I mean, you're good at both, so.
Well, thank you. Well, check out Wild Boar. It's on Amazon and Tubi, I think, and YouTube movies.
And you also acted in it? You directed and played a character?
I wrote, directed, produced, and acted in it.
Oh, how was that like?
And designed the creature.
Being in front.
It was just great. It was like somebody gave me a bunch of like I'm a kid in a toy store and said, "Here, play."
Yeah.
And you can play with it as long as you want until you get it right, and then show people. And it took me about 5 years to get it right because I didn't have a budget.
Right.
And I realized you don't have to pay people to be creative. You just have to pay them not to do something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can focus on your.
You're preaching to the choir. You're preaching to.
Yeah, you're inspiring me. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. I want to ask you just about a couple of your other films before we kind of focus in on one specific big moment in your life. Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
Tell us about Tropic Thunder.
That's gross, man.
I mean, yeah.
That was a trip. I mean, Michelle Burke came to me. She'd been working with Tom, and I worked with them on Mission Impossible 3.
Sure.
And said, I want to design. I want to do this she had some designs already done, but she said, I want to do this makeup with you. and so we built the whole thing in my shop, and when we did a test makeup, and it was not quite there, a little too square jawed, and with some problems, so we had to kind of go back to drawing board a little bit.
Did you test it on Tom Cruise or somebody?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We did on Tom Cruise like 5 tests on Tom.
Makeup
Oh.
test,
And the thing with that, he was shooting on that the same week Star Trek started.
Oh.
I actually replaced myself with the application on Tom.
Wow.
Once we had the whole, everything was dialed in, everything was approved, because I was starting Star Trek the same week. And it's like I was way too burnt out. It was crazy.
Whoa, yeah.
My first day on Star Trek it started the day before in my shop, and I worked all day, and then I had these 3 alien heads that I had to paint that night, which I started at 8 p.m. I finished painting the alien heads. I gave them 1 hour to dry. I put them in my car. I drove them to set, and I was 10 minutes late for my call.
Wow.
And then I worked all day on set there. So my first day on Star Trek started the day before and was a 42-hour day.
Dang, straight
By
in.
the time I got to bed. So that's just I was burning the candle at both ends. It was not smart at all. Hardest work I've ever done.
But it paid off.
Because throw into that Tropic Thunder, I had to go by the set there. And make
Oh
sure
yeah.
Wow.
It was
And
just
Tropic Thunder, did you also do Downies?
No. Rick Baker designed that, and John Blake and
Okay.
Greg.
So you focus specifically on Tom Cruise's.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he gave you some his own takes, like I want more hair or something, or
Well, yeah. I mean, he said first of all wanted to have big hands, so I devised a way to make a piece that was actually his hand was the sculpt, and then I made an insert for a mold that created a skin that literally made a glove, so his hand went over the top of his hand.
Wow.
And
that's pretty good.
That's how it beefed up his hands and still looked like his hands.
It came out amazingly. I think it's one of my favorite things about that film is just.
And I'm pretty sure you used the ball cap as well, or
We had a silicone ball cap. It was all hand punched.
so you can't tell. You can't tell.
Speaking of which, we had it was a 2-piece ball cap, so we had a split in it, right through here.
Right.
We had a hair puncher on set, and now the prosthetic is that thick.
Wow.
And she had to go in after we blended it. There was a little bit of a stripe where there was no hair
Oh, okay.
for about an inch, and so she had to go in with a needle and hair and punch hair into the prosthetic and not into his skin,
Oh man.
and to blend that off. And she did an amazing job. Aida Kaver.
Yeah, you don't want to hurt Tom Cruise,
Tom Cruise.
No, he'll hurt himself. You don't have to worry about that.
You'll just wait for his stunts to come in. That's amazing. That's awesome to hear about that. So you already kind of opened up the conversation about Star Trek. I mean, talk about world building and through makeup and character building through makeup.
Yeah.
I mean, tell us about Star Trek and how that experience was.
Please.
Well, that was terrific because I was working with JJ on a show. I worked on Mission Impossible 3, and I was doing another HBO thing he was directing called Anatomy of Hope. And Star Trek they're talking about it, and I went to him, I said, I'd really like to do that. And he was really open and receptive. And then when it came time to get in there and make designs, he said, look, 2 things. One, I want you to build me a bunch of aliens, and I'm not going to shoot them. And we actually made 36 different aliens for that.
Wow.
Oh my God.
And most of them you don't see, or they're just in a crowd, or just things
Really,
that fill out. You talk about world building. That's what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I was totally on board with that. I said, that's great.
Dream
And
job.
the other thing he said, I don't know what these aliens need to look like. I just know they need to be right. And so,
Jesus, that's a
Such
lot of
J.J.
weight.
Abrams thing to say, isn't it?
yeah.
Did you have somebody you collaborated with? I mean, to go off of, or is it just you
You won't
kind
go
of?
insane.
I did a lot of design work myself, and I had another guy come in named Don
Impressive.
Manning, who was a big Star Trek fan. He did a lot of design work. We tried to bring back a lot of retro character
I
looks,
love that.
but bring them up to date.
Yeah.
Like we did Salt Vampire, we did a the big head aliens, and we did all kinds of things. We even did a Gorn, some things
Nice.
Wow.
on the prison planet, Klingon prison planet. So we did all kinds of things that we thought would just be fun to fill out the world that was still kind of true to the old series, but with a little more gravitas.
Right.
And naturally, JJ approved because it's in the film. So what was his reaction to all of your being surrounded by all of
Yeah.
this? What was his reaction?
He seemed to like it, but I mean, he was all he's caught up in his. JJ's like this. He'll come in and he'll look like say you do an alien. So it's a test alien. It's the first time we did it, and he'll look at it and go, I see this right here. Is that something that can fix this line right there in the corner of his mouth? I'm like, I know we had a bad edge there. It's not going to be there on the day. Don't worry about that. Okay.
Really?
Okay, big fan. It worked. And you just walk off.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you're like, because he actually wanted to be a makeup effects artist when he was a kid. He even wrote my dad a letter saying he wanted to be a makeup effects artist and how much he loved the work in like cat people. And
That's beautiful.
Your dad still have that letter?
he showed me the letter my dad wrote back to him at my last day on set. He's like, "Come here, my friend," and he showed me this letter, and I was just like,
Wow.
That's too awesome. Yes, that's too awesome.
Crazy.
I think that Star Trek, because you also worked on Into the Darkness, and we kind of get into that, but I think Star Trek coming out in 2009, it really did set up this ability for like the Star Wars films to have their play and the Marvel films to have their play because of the success of Star Trek and JJ's take on it, Simon Pegg's involvement in the writing, and just a bunch of stuff was really. Oh, it was a winner. It was a winner. Not to mention that you won an Academy Award for this, being part of the team. What was that experience like as a filmmaker, as a creative, your whole life? What was that experience for you like?
"That sucked."
I bet. Yeah.
That's the answer we want to hear.
Don't do it. Everybody just don't.
Everybody's doing it, right?
Well, you know what? It made me realize one thing. It's achievable. And people look at it like it's not. People think of it like it's a thing that they can never be part of. And that's not true. Anybody, devoting their time and their energy and getting
passion.
Part of it is luck and the right passion, the right project. And things can just click into place, and you just have to realize it's achievable if that's what you want.
Now, one of the questions we always like to ask our guests, Barney, is, and I think you could kind of piggyback off that. Do you have any advice for filmmakers all around, indie filmmakers, creatives?
Yeah, right. Right now, my girlfriend actually, she's like trying to take the whole makeup, special effects route, and contrary, I guess, to like where you started, she loves zombies and gore and just trying to get into that whole horror
scene. People do, man. It's a big thing. Because I was always around it. It just wasn't the thing that was special to me. Okay, best advice I can give. I've got a lot of different kinds of advice, but I was just thinking about this the other day.
You're a straight shooter.
Quit. Stop it right now. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
And here's the thing. If anybody takes that to heart and it stops them from doing it, then I just did you a favor.
Yeah. Get out.
But anybody who actually wants to go into anything they want to do, I don't care if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or a makeup artist, a director, anybody comes and says, don't do it, and you take that to heart so much that you decide, yeah, you're right, I'm not going to do it, you shouldn't be doing it.
Shouldn't be doing it in the first place. Sure.
Yeah, well, just find the thing that does drive you, that does move you so much that you're not going to let some schmuck on a podcast convince you your life direction is not correct. I don't know. I don't know anything. All I know is that you have to zero in on something and try it and go for that thing. And don't let people talk you out of it.
Yeah, you can't be sensitive in the business. Yeah.
it's part of the tough skin kind of mentality of like creatives, especially if you want to break into the film industry. And I mean, who are we to talk? We're still trying to break in, right? But we're having fun and we enjoy what we love, and we wake up every day loving film and loving cinema and loving to contribute to that. So I think the resilient part of it is, you're again being a straight shooter the way you are, but it's resilience, right? And if somebody tells you to quit and you're gonna quit, then you probably weren't meant to do it in the first place.
Too sensitive, yeah.
Probably weren't passionate about it in the first place. So that's.
I'd also say this. I'm gonna add something to that, because here's the thing.
Bring it.
There are probably a lot of people out there who are just sensitive enough to hear something like that and have it affect them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you have to actually be. It's that Jungian thing. You have to be able to be your own parent.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to envision your wounded child self,
Okay.
and embrace them, and embrace that wounded child self, and give them a pat on the back, give them a hug, give them the encouragement that you didn't get then.
Mm-hmm.
Cut them a break. Huh?
To move on and do more, and take that next step.
I like that. It's a little bit more sugar coated, but I like that.
Between those two things: A, quit.
You're too sensitive, quit.
B, be your own parent and don't listen to that idiot who just said quit.
No, I love it. I love it.
What did that? Speaking of special effects, characters, and what did Thanos say? Life is about balance. So
yeah, absolutely.
Life is about balance. Quit, but give yourself a pat on the back, right?
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
All right, guys. It's come to that last segment of our show where we put our guest in the hot seat. Good word of the day.
Word of the day. So you probably didn't expect this. Nobody ever does, but we have a word of the day segment, which is trying to help us expand as communicators and just creatives alike. I'm going to give you a good word of the day, and I want to see if you can guess what it means. Definition. Yeah. It's fun.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, it's fun. People do it, you know?
Yeah.
So, the word of the day for you, one time only offer, is lucida.
Say it again.
Lucida.
Lucida. Spell that out, man.
Well,
Lucida.
If you're gonna offend our guest on the show, Delo, I gotta have to.
Yeah, man.
I would have came up with a better word.
No.
You son of a bitch! You humiliated.
We'll cut it out.
Well, I feel I hear the word lucid in it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Which has clarity and consciousness. So lucida feels like light, or some kind of
okay, you can play on that if you want to.
Some kind of awareness.
Let him flirt with it a little bit.
Okay.
Is it Latin origin?
Sure. Yeah.
Don't give me this shit. Don't give me like here's the word and I don't know where it comes from.
No. Yes, Latin origin. It's of Latin origin. Yes. It's okay. Lucida. You were on the right track by saying bright. It is the actual brightest star in a constellation. That's what the word means.
Did you get this off the word of the day email?
Hey, I got it off of something else, but you're pretty darn close. Same title. So yeah, Lucida, the brightest star in a constellation. Now, I'm going to tie it back somehow into this conversation and say that your work has been the brightest star in any constellation of a film that we've seen. It is definitely something that has stood out for us, and that's why we were so excited to have you on. And
yes.
It's amazing. Like from Star Trek to Carlos' childhood favorite film. Oh, look at you. Being too cool and too bright for school. I can't put anything on. I'm just gonna roll with it. But yeah, no, your work is amazing, and we're all inspired by watching it and just talking to you and kind of breaking it down for us. Yeah, it's been truly a pleasure. So thank you so much for coming on, talking to us.
Absolutely. Thank you so
really,
much.
Lovely acknowledgement. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm just going to absorb that acknowledgement. I'm not going to deflect it. I'm going to say thank you. And I'm going to say people who are watching or listening, learn to absorb and appreciate acknowledgements, and don't hide from them.
Nice. Yes.
Appreciate
Absolutely. You very much deserved, just because of all the inspiration you've given us today. We had the amazing Barney Burman, as he's much since corrected me, on our show today. He's gone through his career and showed us that it's tangible. We can do this if we really we want to.
Very much so.
We're really passionate about it, and we want to wake up every day and put in the work to be creatives on a professional level even. So thank you for that, Barney. Thank you for being on the TowerCast podcast this episode. Rest assured that if you're ever in the Texas, New Mexico area, or even if you're not and you need us in California, you have a crew right here to back you up on anything you might need. So rest assured, you got a crew here with you through Tower Productions. But thank you so much for being on. If you're listening in, we hope you gained some inspiration from this awesome creative, Academy Award winner.
Yes.
But overall, he's a storyteller. And that's kind of, there it is. There, he's pointing it out because it's there. Next to his cat, which is sleeping on it, which is just awesome. But if you're not getting inspiration from this, we don't know where you're going to gain it from. I mean, it's just awesome to go through this career and see all of the challenges, but also all of the rewards. And rest assured that we as creatives support you guys that are listening in. We love to be storytellers, just like Barney. That's the number one thing we all have in common. A couple of Academy Award nominations of a difference, right? But we're all creatives. We're all storytellers,
Right.
And that's the common throw line, if you will. So thank you for tuning in to the TowerCast podcast. Make sure to keep listening on all major podcasting platforms. And if you're seeing this on YouTube and Facebook, make sure to check out Barney's work as a director as well. He's going to be he's going to be doing Guillermo del Toro's produced film soon.
Yes.
I'm sure of it. Hopefully it's the Haunted Mansion remake. I'm just saying.
Oh, wow.
You already have
Yeah.
You already have the experience. And on a side note, Barney, we're actually screening later tonight. We just decided to watch this because Michael, although hasn't seen it, Blades of Glory, one of your films.
Ooh.
So we're going to screen it. We'll honor you in that way as well and just talk about your work on that film. So, but yeah, thank you so much for being on, Barney, and thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Love you guys.
Thanks, everybody.